here's my schedule for this person, 8 o'clock, 9:45, 11:30, 1:15, 2:45, right? Just an hour, or no, 3 o'clock, sorry. And every hour and 45 minutes, right? Set your kitchen timer. Put a beep on your Apple Watch, whatever, right? Every hour and 45 minutes. So at that time, I'm going to say something like, it's time to go to the bathroom. I am not going to say, do you need to pee? I am not going to say, do you want to go to the bathroom? I am not going to ask a question. I am going to tell, it's time to go to the bathroom. I am trip training. We're going every hour and 45 minutes. At the same time, if I'm using some kind of visual schedule, if the person has a visual schedule, right, point to the toilet on the visual schedule because it should be on the schedule. So if you're using some kind of picture schedule, here's a great place to put toilet because you know when that's going to happen in the schedule. That's fine. At the same time, you want to teach communication. So however it is that the person communicates, you want to prompt the person to say or do that communication. So if the person can say pee, I would say to the person, time to go to the bathroom, say pee, pee, and we go. Or time to go to the bathroom, show me, and he shows me the manual sign. Or time to go to the bathroom, and I prompt him to give me his picture exchange. Or I prompt him to point to bathroom on his communication board or on his speech generating device. I'm modeling for the person how he or she can tell me he has to go. I don't expect the person to actually do this at this point. I'm modeling, I'm teaching the communication chain as part of the whole procedure. So this is really important. Here's where I want to build in the communication piece. And then once I get to the bathroom, I'm going to use hand-over-hand instruction, no verbal, hand-over-hand instruction to assist the person to pull down his pants, to assist the person to get on the toilet if he needs assistance to do that. So if he has a physical disability, I'm going to wheel him into the bathroom. I may have to pull down his pants. I may have to sit him on the toilet. I may have to do all those pieces. But now he's on the toilet. He can do whatever it is that he's going to do. And probably he's going to have to pee because I calculated the interval. Okay? So all of this other stuff, the communication stuff and all of that, I'm using good instructional procedures to teach as part of the entire toileting chain. So now the person's on the toilet. Of course, there may be a special seat. There may be a footrest. We talked about all of this yesterday. I want him to be comfortable. I want him to be relaxed. I want him to feel like he's not going to fall in. So we talked about all of that yesterday. And again, remember, probably he's going to need to pee since I calculated the interval. So I'm going to keep him there until he pees. Ideally, that will happen pretty quickly because remember, he probably needs to pee. Or we're going to sit for 5 minutes, 10 minute, and then maybe get up and stretch a bit and then back on, because remember, I know he has to pee. So I don't want to let him, kind of just, oh, well, let's sit for a minute or two, and if you don't pee, we'll go back to the classroom, or sit for a minute or two, and if you don't pee, we'll go into the living room, because you know he has to, so you want to kind of stay in the bathroom until that happens, until he pees in the toilet. If he starts to pee when you get him off the toilet to do the stretching, get to the toilet right away and catch the rest of it there, same as in rapid toilet training. My advice is don't have him leave the bathroom, right? But you know what the sweet spot here is, right? In rapid toilet training, in some ways you don't know what the sweet spot is, I mean, you're hoping that by giving the person lots and lots of fluid, that every time you sit him on the toilet, he's going to have to pee because I've given him so much fluid. But here, you actually know what the sweet spot is because you did all that math. So you should be able to catch it pretty quickly, okay? And then, of course, as soon as he's finished peeing, not during, but finished peeing, you provide the reinforcers that you selected, and we talked about that a lot yesterday. And clearly from your Mentimeter responses, you all got that message. The most important thing is that you have powerful reinforcers, and you've got to think outside the box on that. So you don't want to get all excited while he's peeing. You want to wait till he's finished. If you can't tell when he's finished, hold that thought. We're going to do a case study about that at the end of the day. Hold that thought. I promise we'll get there. But you don't want to, oh, you're peeing. Oh. You don't want to do that because that'll make him clench and now he'll stop peeing and now he doesn't empty his bladder and you're like hooped, right? So, and lots of praise, of course, lots of other praise and positive feedback, however it is that the person likes that. So some people need very low-key praise. Wow, good for you. Way to go. High five. And some people like it when you do the happy dance and, you know, everybody's jumping around and balloons are flying and whatever you need to do. But always, always some kind of verbal praise in conjunction with the tangible reinforcer that you figured out based on what we said yesterday that you're going to provide. And that tangible reinforcer or reinforcers have to be in the bathroom, have to be readily accessible, all of the stuff we said yesterday. So again, if you weren't here yesterday, you missed a big chunk of this, and I'm hoping that you're reading the handout so that you can get caught up. After you've provided the reinforcer for peeing in the toilet, now you can teach the rest of it. You teach the wipe, you teach the flush, you teach the pull-up pants, you teach the hand washing. All of this is with hand-over-hand instruction. Don't talk when you're teaching all of this. Don't say, now you need to flush, now you need to pull up your pants, now you need to wash your hands, turn on the faucet, get your soap, put your hands up. Don't talk. Many, many people with developmental disabilities have a tendency toward what we call prompt dependency. Prompt dependency is doing what you're supposed to do in response to a prompt rather than in response to what you're actually supposed to attend to. So what you're actually supposed to attend to is that when you get off the toilet, nobody's there to tell you to flush. You just remember to flush. So if I say, now you need to flush, I run the risk that the person is going to learn to flush when I tell him to, not because the lever is there and he needs to. So I want to prompt flushing by not talking, but by physically moving his hand. And little by little, I'm going to physically move his hand to the flush lever with less and less effort so that he learns to do it on his own. Same thing with pulling up your pants. If I say, pull up your pants now he, imagine he's standing there going, oh, gee, here I am. I've peed. She hasn't said, pull up your pants. I guess I just need to stand here until she does. No, you don't want that, right? You want him to pull up his pants because he can feel them around his ankles and he reaches down and pulls them up. So you want to use hand-over-hand instruction, what we call graduated guidance in the biz, right? To pull up the pants. Same thing with hand washing, all of that, right? So don't talk when you're teaching these adjunct skills to toilet training. And by the way, this also applies to rapid toilet training. When you're teaching this stuff in rapid toilet training, nothing. And now you've had a success. So on your data sheet, now you've got a different data sheet. You've got your intervention data sheet out. All of the data sheets are in the chat if you didn't download them from the web link site. You record a T on the data sheet, meaning he peed in the toilet. Pat yourself on the back because you did a great job, and wait for the next scheduled time. I'm going to show you what the data sheet looks like in a minute. If he's wet, so you've got an hour and 45-minute interval. You're going to take him at an hour and 45. If he's wet during the interval, if you can, just ignore that until the end of the interval. Just ignore it, right? So he kind of feels the wet. Remember, he's in underwear, not diapers or pull-ups. Remember what we talked about yesterday. And he's got waterproof pants over the underwear, so his outside clothes aren't stained, right? But if you notice he's wet or pooped, if you can, ignore it till the end of the interval. If you can't, and sometimes you can't because of the dignity of the person, maybe it does have some odor, or you can actually see it, that's okay. If you can't ignore it, change into dry clothes rapidly and neutrally. Don't say anything. Don't talk, don't scold, don't explain, don't lecture. Oh, Johnny, you peed in your pants. No, don't do that. Don't spend a long time on it. Don't be rough, of course. You're going to be neutral and gentle, but don't make it a big, long procedure. Be quick when you change. Don't have the person clean up, put the clothes in the washing machine. You don't have to do all of that. Just get him or her changed in a way that results in minimal attention and minimal interaction with you, right? Done. Okay? Quick, 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 quick. Same as for rapid toilet training, by the way. So you see that there are some similarities between the two procedures. And now you're going to record a W on the data sheet for that interval because there was an accident. It was an accident. He didn't do this on purpose. He's not sitting there thinking, I'm going to get you. This is not a behavior problem. This is an instructional problem. And then at the end of each day, you're going to add up the T's and you're going to add up the W's to see where you're at. So here's what that might look like. Now we're at December 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. So we've done our baseline data. We've started training. At 8 o'clock, he peed in the toilet. Whoa. At 9:45, somewhere between 8 and 9:45, he was wet. Okay, that's an accident. I still take him at 9:45, but he was wet, so he probably doesn't have to go. At 11:30, he peed in the toilet. Here's another wet. Here's another wet. Couple of pees in the toilet in succession here. This is great. And this person's in bed by 10 o'clock, and probably this one doesn't even count that much. Now notice that I'm also recording BMs, poop. I'm not poop training at this point, but I am going to keep track of poop. Because when I start to poop train, if I need to start to poop train, because often poop training happens simultaneously with pee training, and then I'm just like a lucky person, I'm going to need to know, when does he tend to poop? So here's look at this, in this interval, he not only peed in the toilet, but he pooped in the toilet at the same time. Whoa, total bonus. The stars are aligned. That happened here as well. That happened here as well. That happened here as well. But sometimes he was not only wet, but he also pooped. He had 2 accidents, right? He had 2 accidents, right? Here he was wet and he also pooped. He had 2 accidents. Sometimes he might only poop, and then I would record that. I'm just recording it for now. Hold that thought. We'll come back to it. So here's my total number of T's here is 1, 2, 3, it should be 5. I don't know why I wrote 4. Sorry about that, right? So here's my total T's and my total W's. And then in an ideal world, I have some graph paper, and I actually graph this because I get satisfaction out of seeing the T line go up and the W line go down. So on December 4th, there were an equal number of both. On December 5th, same thing. But on December 6th, we start to see our very coveted separation occur. He's peeing in the toilet more often than he's peeing out of the toilet, 5 times in, 3 times out, 6 times in, 2 times out, little bit of a down on December 8th, that's okay. And look at that by December 10th, it's all in and no out. So I take satisfaction, as do some of you, or perhaps you could learn to, by seeing the graph and the separation. If you don't want to graph it, okay, but you should be seeing this number go up, the T's go up, and the W's go down, right? If you're taking them every however many minutes your interval requires. So, this is trip training. You're going to continue to trip train until the person is dry. Most of the time, I say 90 to 100%, you know, let's not get fussy about the math, of the training intervals for at least 2 weeks. You want this to be really, really solid before you start flipping to phase 2. Don't change anything before the 2 weeks is up. Continue to deliver the reinforcer whenever he pees in the toilet. Continue to be neutral about accidents when they occur. If the person ever either asks or goes into the toilet on his or her own during this period, you know, release the doves, right? Like, reinforce with your best stuff. If there are 5 reinforcers in the bathroom that you're alternating between, give them all 5, because you just struck gold, right? He initiated, right, during the trip training procedure, which is like a miracle, right? A wonderful thing. So if the person ever asks, you know, gives you the toy, you know, points to the whatever, says peek, says poo, you know, ever asks, or actually goes in, if you're training at home, he might actually go in the bathroom, sit down and pee, and you're like, oh my God, oh geez, what do I do? In between the intervals, this is gold. So go crazy, go nuts, right? Go nuts. So by the end of phase 1, if you're graphing, you should have something that looks like this. No more than 1 wet, ideally lots of days with no wets for at least 2 weeks. And that means, or here's T's, these are the T's in the toilet. And no more than 1 wet, 1 wet, 1 wet, 1 wet, 1 wet, right? So this is actual data for an actual person, a teenager actually. What mom and dad were training, and what they knew is that they missed the interval on these 2 days. Okay, mom was on the phone at the hour and 45 minutes and really kind of missed it. And by the time she realized it was time for him to go, it was 2 hours and he had wet. So that sweet spot is really important, right? You need to be on that sweet spot, because you know at that point this person is going to have to go. And if you don't get him to the toilet, he's going to have an accident. So these 2 don't really count that much because it wasn't his fault. It was the trainer's problem, not the trainee's problem, right? Really important. But this is what your graph should look like if you're graphing, which I would encourage you to do.